This is the final edition of the EFR podcast of 2020. It's the end of the year, a wrap-up review. We do this every year. I am Sammy B, along with my co-host James Lyman. That's it, man. 2020 is finally done. Gotta get a soul clap. For that, I'm freaking glad that it's finally over. What do you think, James?
I have to agree with you. Good riddance.
Yeah.
I guess it could be worse. We could have had World War III.
I'm sure World War III was anticipating, right? Like that was definitely about to come about sooner or later, right? Like that was gonna be inevitable.
Yeah.
What else, man? Just a lot of stuff, man. 2020 presidential and congressional elections, the coronavirus pandemic. 2020 saw a lot of things. The economy faltering a little bit because of the pandemic. Small business suffered. A lot of restaurants and businesses shuttered and closed. Even to today, they shuttered because of the rise of coronavirus, the holidays. So a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Let's start it off with the 2020 elections, the presidential elections. We have a new president-elect and Madame VP or Vice President-elect, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What do you think? Let's start it off with that.
Well, I don't know what real difference it's going to make. I've never thought that with any of the presidents. They don't have near the power that we consider they do. They're not king and queen of America. But Biden's going to really inherit a mess because I think the financial or the whole economy is far from being back to what it was, and maybe years if it ever comes back. I've just always been rather dubious about this hyper-consumerism, that just having an economy based on people spending and using resources to support other consumers. I always thought that was dubious. And it's been that way since '73 when Rust Belt started to really set in. And we started swinging away from real material wealth generating economy to the hyper-consumerism. So he's going to have a lot of problems, and I don't think they're going to wait long before a lot of people are on his back to solve something that he isn't able to.
Well, we'll see. 1973. Man, I thought you were 21, 22 years old. How you know about that stuff, babe? I thought you were 22, 23
I started
years
school
old.
in '67.
Oh,
no, I'm 72.
But
thank you anyway.
Hey, you're still young guy. He will have a mess. What do you think about the economic impact that is caused, for small businesses, especially the restaurant industry, businesses that relied on customers coming in,
Yeah.
the food, I guess, I don't know if you want to say the food delivery service businesses have excelled because now people are ordering more, companies like DoorDash that just went public, Postmates, Uber Eats, just all these Grubhub, all these companies have excelled as far as revenues and sales, just because restaurants, like the restaurant industry, is faltering right now. Maybe not, because if they're getting people are still buying food, it's just not indoors, right? So they're doing well. But what do you think about the strain that in other sectors that the coronavirus or pandemic has caused?
Well, interesting fact that I heard early on was that half the businesses in America are small businesses, and half of those had cash reserves of less than 15 days. So that means a very significant chunk of the American economy is going to disappear. and dubious about it
Mm.
coming back. As for restaurants, they
What,
were in trouble
where
before.
where did you see that report exactly? And and can you expunge on or explain more about that? As far as that statistic, 15. So what? They're businesses that are essentially going to close in 15 days or less. What do you mean
Well,
by
yeah,
that?
they didn't have the resources to pay their rents, to pay their insurance, and other things like that. So yes, they've disappeared. There's supposed to be something over 100,000 restaurants that have disappeared. But this is just small
Mm.
businesses in general. It really taken a hit. Uh, for restaurants, they were in trouble before the pandemic hit. There's a way oversupply of restaurants competing for dollars, and I'm not talking about the mom and pop. Restaurants like McDonald's. I'm sorry, not McDonald's, but Wendy's and Pizza Hut and Red Robin, and those were in the straits before this started. Now, the one positive thing is that the fast food restaurants like McDonald's, like Wendy's and such, 70% of their business is drive-through, which means they've
Mm.
weathered through this fairly good. Particularly with the food delivery service coming in now. But still, they were hard up. And I've noticed the prices of restaurants for this last year have really been creeping up a fair amount,
Mm.
because they've been working on very razor thin margins, and now they just don't have any option but to raise their prices, increase the size of that margin, and hope for the best that people still keep coming back, which they've got a better chance with so many restaurants having to fold up, particularly the mom and pop, unable to survive the economic problems. So you've got fewer suppliers now, with the customer base fairly constant. Not as many people are going out to eat, but then more of them are depending on the food delivery. So it seems to be, maybe in the long run, it's helping them out. We'll just have to wait and see.
Mm. So, um, speaking about the restaurant industry and them faltering. I mean, people have to buy food, right? They have to eat. What do you think the alternatives should be in something like this, or what? I mean, besides the I guess food delivery service that's been excelling. I mean, what other alternatives can be provided in something like this?
Well, the it's not so much businesses going out, folding up, restaurants folding up, in the sense that everybody's going without food. It's just that it's thinning out the herd, so that there's fewer restaurants to support the customer base, which gives them a better chance to survive. It allows them to start raising those prices and increasing the margins that they have to work on.
What do you what other sectors do you feel like have taken a beating? I know you're a big tech guy, um, and a big manufacturing. But because of the pandemic, what other sectors or industries in business do you feel have taken significant hits? And will they rebound? Let's speak about the if they have a chance to rebound. But what other sectors and industries?
Well, anything with the consumer base, the small business or individuals, from repair businesses to the little curio shops and the little shops you see walking down the street all the time. Those are the ones that are folding up and not having a much of a chance. Uh, we have a friend of a friend who has a curio shop over in Bernie, Texas, a few miles from us, and had done for years quite well. And she's had to fold up. She's had to quit. She just didn't have the cash reserves to meet her rent and her taxes and those things, even though she was still operating off and on, letting a few people in and they'd come around and look. But people are worried about the economy, so they're not going out and recreation shopping like they once were. They're now, worried about the real things that they need and being able to afford them, particularly if they're no longer making as much money because they're, working part-time, or they're worried about a furlough for several weeks. So people have been saving money, building up their cash reserves as much as possible in case they run into problems, because we're on the news tonight that a new strain of the coronavirus has emerged in England and in parts of Europe, and they don't know anything about
Right.
this, and it's upset the markets. The markets are always skittish about anything that can be a downturn. So people are the same way. They may not be able to articulate it, and they may not be able to say specifically this or that, but they know that things are shaky, and they want to be careful.
Mm. Yeah, I have to agree. I did hear about that. That they found new strains. And even in the United States, they're trying to figure out if they should allow them to come. Like I know in New York, the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, said that they should shut down flights from the UK or Europe, and or that people have to do extreme testing just because of, like you said, the new strain. With this, it just seems like this is coming at a weird time, because Pfizer and Moderna, and we're going to speak more about that, just created, initiated their vaccines. And, Pfizer did theirs last week, and I think Moderna is supposed to be coming in later this week, of some sort. But, these new strains that we're seeing in the UK and other countries saying that we have to ban, traveling for UK and Europe. It just seems ironic that all this is kind of happening, and now that they have medication now. So how does this all play out, at the end? It just seems pretty
Yeah.
ironic and weird, no?
It's well, the type of virus they were talking about today, that or class of viruses called messenger RNA virus, they very quickly change and evolve. So this hasn't come as any big surprise. And of course, it's all unknown now. Will the vaccine work against this new variety, or will we have to go through another process of coming up with another vaccine? Because the vaccine was very virus specific. The way that they derived it so quickly, was taking the DNA of the virus and then going through and generating the antibiotic RNA that they then inject. See, typically with a virus, how it used to be, they would weaken or kill the virus and inject that in a person. The immune system would see that and start coming up with an antibiotic and then the RNA to create that in whole. And of course, it was a race between getting enough immunity built up, the RNA, for them to actually repel the disease, particularly if it was a weakened one and not an actual kill. And this technique they've come up with bypasses that. They now just take what the DNA of the virus is, and from there develop their own antibiotics and make a messenger RNA for that, and then inject it in, and that causes your immune system to start manufacturing those antibiotics on their own. So it really compresses the time, not only in developing a new vaccine, but also in your body responding and being able to reject the virus once it comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how how this I guess this new virus evolves, and see what happens. And I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, the medication is already established and it's being distributed, worldwide. So we'll see how that comes about. But that kind of segues me into well, it kind of segues me. It does segue me into the Congress today. Doing a full vote of the stimulus package, and it goes to what you were saying about people spending money. So $900 billion I believe it was they voted on today. It was approved. Was
Yeah,
approved? I know they voted, so it was probably passed. And I guess President Trump has to sign off on it. But
yeah.
you know, what do you think this brings about as far as this jubilation to the small businesses and to American people? I know the state aid that the governors and local politicians wanted didn't come through, and how does that affect them as far as financing their fiscal budgets?
There's still a lot of ifs out there, and it's again dubious. Will these people ever be able to recover and come back in? Because the economy is now sloughing off the elements that is not really vital to it, emerging as a new economic system. And so it's going to be tough for a lot of these people, a lot of these businesses to climb back on. It's like a tree with a lot of heavy snow on it, and the least little disturbance, the bird lands, the squirrel scampers across it, a wind, somebody bumps the tree, and the snow falls off. Some of it's caught by lower branches, and some of it goes to the ground, never to get back up. And it's kind of the same way with these
Mm,
people. It's really kind of a dangerous situation because we already have a lot of dissatisfaction. We talked about it before, dissatisfaction with the young people, groups of them. And so far, it's just demonstrations and little rioting here and there. But the environment is just prime for serious insurrection. The only thing that's missing is a viable political philosophy. In other words, a political philosophy that these young people will start buying into and accepting and be willing to risk life, limb, and liberty to pursue. When that happens,
mm-hmm.
it can get very bad very quick. And it's
Yeah.
not going to have much warning beforehand. It'll just all of a sudden be there.
So do
And
you
that's
think
what
the
I've been
stimulus?
writing for.
Do you
Pardon?
think the stimulus? Do you think the stimulus is going to have a lasting effect, or will it also fizzle out? People will spend, but it won't really. There will be no
I think
trickling
it's going to
effect.
have a very lasting effect, but it's not going to be good. We before this last was passed, we'd already had more federal debt in terms of the gross domestic product, the percent of it, than after World War II. Now, after World War II, because of all the new technologies that came in out of the war, the economy turned around and started booming when everybody expected the traditional recession. And it created
Mm-hmm.
40% of the jobs at that time. But that has gone down linear until the year 2000, the turn of the century, when it came to zero. It no longer creating new jobs. Technology no longer creates new jobs. So the question is, how are we going to pay for all this money that we spend? Because World War II, after that, the booming economy, the growing economy, went and absorbed that debt. Well, it doesn't look like we're going to have that booming economy, that big growth to absorb the debt now. And the other factor in that is the Chinese. They've been buying about 35% of our debt per year. And there's been a lot of worries if they stop buying so much, or even worse, they start selling off their bonds. This is a way for the Chinese to really crash our economy. And that's their intent. They've already stated publicly they intend to be the dominant world power by 2050. And that means us being pushed down and out. And this is a great way for them to do it if they are high risk takers, to go ahead and collapse the economy at this time when we're so overextended and have so little hope of easily repaying that debt. So keep your fingers crossed. Do a lot of praying. I would recommend at least a lot of praying.
Yeah, I do a lot of praying anyway. I do a lot of praying anyway
Yeah,
because you never know what's coming. You know what I mean? So you never know
yeah,
what's
good
coming
idea.
Armageddon. But that's another great segue. Let's talk about what's going on in China. China. I don't know if you just heard that the Trump administration is banning Chinese companies if they don't adhere to I guess SEC or financial regulatory rules being listed in the exchanges and the stock exchanges and business exchanges. what do you feel about that? You know, because of, and you know, that kind of goes to your points of transparency on countries, I would say, U.S. and China, and you know, you know, them pivoting to being a dominant force. What do you think of that? Have you heard that Trump signed? I believe in, I don't know if it was an executive order or some type of bill that states that Chinese companies will be prohibited or listed on the stock exchanges or any exchange unless they follow U.S. regulatory rules and guidelines and laws.
Yeah. Well, the companies that he's pushing out are ones that are central and strategically needed by the Chinese military. So he's attacking, which is traditional, is you want to not help an adversary's buildup of the military. And these companies are very tightly integrated into the industrial military complex of China. And of course, is exporting technology left and right from us over to the Chinese to make their military stronger and better capable of repulsing us. And they feel their Wheaties. You know, they just had an aircraft carrier sail through the Straits of Formosa, threatening Formosa again, Taiwan, and as well as building up a blue water navy to rival ours. They already have more ships than we have, although ours are more advanced. We are now working on fully automated ships that can support the battle fleet on their own. Go out, sail to where they're supposed to rendezvous, and give supplies, fuel, and such, and then sail back without one single human on it. You know, no sailors whatsoever.
What do you want?
Pardon?
All right. So I guess so. What are you saying as far as the business will you know, simplify what you're speaking about, sir?
We are constantly in competition, trying to best or better the Chinese military-wise, because they are, you know, so much trying to flex their muscle and increase their power. And of course, if they take over Taiwan, then they start looking at South Korea and the Philippines, Vietnam, and Japan. And Japan has already been in some tussles with the Chinese about control of the sea and the such, and particularly around their waters. So this is very important.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Say?
I'm sorry.
Well, this is why it's so important. It's just keeping them at bay, their company-wise here in America, is just one facet of that struggle for power. And of course, if you don't maintain your power position, then you become vulnerable to eventually an attack. You know, China decides to invade Taiwan. What are we going to do about that? You know, do we just let them take it over and hope that they don't then decide that's the green light to go after South Korea, Japan, the Philippines, Vietnam, and those? Or do we get into an actual shooting conflict, which would be, you know, our submarines blocking any shipping going or coming from China? What they do in response, you know, it just escalates quickly.
What makes you think that that China may, because if they put Taiwan in play, that they will be looking for other territories in the Asian and South Asian Sea? Because I've heard that before too, that they'll want to conquest. I mean, but are we looking at another Russia and Crimea situation, or what makes you think that they would want to expand their I guess Pacific dominance? Or Asian dominance?
They've already stated that they're going to. First of all, they've stated that they're going. They've out of their mouth said that. Yep.
Or did they say that they don't want people meddling in geographic affairs?
The exact wording was they intend to be the dominant power in the world by 2050. And that means having a dominant military.
where did you read that? Remember, I would like to start putting facts. I mean, putting citations or there Google.
Yeah,
There's somewhere. Where did you see that?
there's been several articles that I've read when doing my news briefs every day that said that.
Okay.
So, if you do a search, uh, like Google Chinese world dominance, I think you'd come up with the document that they've been referring to very quickly.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll definitely look into that. What Mr. Lyman indicated of Chinese dominance in the Pacific and I guess global dominance as they expand their empire,
Yeah,
um, economically and politically and geographically. I mean, tongue
yeah,
twister, geographically, tongue twister. Uh, and we'll see how that plays out. What I wanted to speak to you about also is something that recently just happened, maybe about a week ago, about the cybersecurity and the Russians maybe playing their hand in that. And Trump really stating that he doesn't know. It could be the Chinese. He's pivoting, saying the Chinese, but security experts and military experts have said that it is a Russian play. What do you think about that as far as cybersecurity? And it's always been a problem, but it just continues to be more affluent now as we go into
yeah.
2021.
Yeah, well, this is again another means for a power struggle between the West and the countries like Russia, Iraq, Iran, and China, and North Korea, and these countries. This is a way for them to attack without bombs dropping on them, hopefully. It's just another sign and another position, and something that we have to put more and more resources into doing and countering. One thing I've thought about is maybe the president start issuing letters of marque to individuals and civilian groups that you keep us informed what you're doing, and you've got a license to now attack the Russians and the Chinese, and anything you get, you get to keep. Just tell us how you did it. This would be the same way with the privateers back in the 15th, 16th, 17th century, where the crown would issue letters of marque that allowed a civilian ship to go out gunning for the adversary ships, and if they can take them over, then they get to keep the ship and the cargo, and the crown would
Wait,
get
so
a certain amount.
wait. Are we? We're not advocating for. Are you talking? Are you advocating for civil unions or civil organizations to go out and do mercenary work on
Mm-hmm.
global economies? Like that's. I hope that's not what that would be something that the U.S. would probably frown on because one, civil organization groups are not capable of doing mercenary, nor have they been subjected by the Constitution to be doing stuff like that. I think only like federal governments are able to go across and do that. So I wouldn't say that we should be advocating for organizations and NGOs to go out and do mercenary work because that's what it sounds like, and that's something that we should not be
Well,
inhibiting. We should be prohibiting
it's
stuff like that.
something that I don't think the Russians or the Chinese would like out there lurking, wondering what's going to happen. They would not like letters of marque, and it would be a great impetus for them to back off from all this cyber warfare.
But I don't see the U.S. doing something like that. You're talking about what 15th or 16th century. It seems so out of
Yeah, back
context.
sailing ship day. Well,
It,
it
it,
just allowed the entrepreneur to go out and make money by capturing adversary ships and cargoes. And here, letters of marque in the cyberspace would allow individuals or groups who want to try their hand out on it, if they're able to attack and make progress, then and then tell the federal government what they're doing and what programs and everything to keep them informed, so that increases their power and ability, then it's a good threat, counter threat to these
No,
adversary countries.
but we have the CIA, we have the national was it national was the national um what is it, defense, no, I'm not was it the NSA, the National Security
NSA, yeah,
Council, yeah, we have the
agency,
NSA, yeah, the
yeah,
National Security Agency. We have the National Security Council, which is a collective group of security officials. We have the CIA. We have the FBI. I mean, we have so many organizations that are, they're 24/7. I mean, while we're sleeping, they're already seeing this.
yeah,
And they've already said that they're monitoring this. This is not something that's new, but I think if they're handling it, I don't think that we should have civil organizations or civil right organizations or NGOs or any type of organization go out and try to do mercenary type work and capturing. What are they capturing? If we have government, we have agencies in the federal level that are able to do this and are fully capable of finding out where they're coming from, right? My next
yeah.
question is to you is that President Trump doesn't feel or doesn't think that there's enough information to connect Russia. I mean, what do you think about that? Even though security agencies are saying at the federal level that it is a Russian play. Even national security, even Secretary of State Pompeo said it seems to be a Russia play, or it is a Russia play from
Yeah.
the briefings that he's gotten.
Well, that's the thing about the cyber stuff. It's very hard to get concrete, hardcore evidence that it was one
No,
group or
don't say
one
that,
country
James.
or another.
We're not in those briefings. We don't know. They probably do have enough, maybe over 90%, 95%. Not everything is 100% in life. But if you have something that can be forwarded, and if you do something and with the arrows pointing towards you and everything is pointing towards you, then it's not a goat. It's probably you. So I'm sure we're not privy to that information, and it's again all the arrows could be pointing to a certain way. I'm not saying that it could be that, but
Yeah.
if it sounds like a goat and it eats like a goat and it looks like a goat, it's not a cheetah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the odd thing, or the real characteristic about the cyber sphere, is that you can go out and create those arrows that point to somebody else, and trying to determine, are these real arrows pointing, or are these fake arrows, red herrings that somebody else has put out. It's a very complex area subject, to really track down. And that's why it's so hard to track down criminals who are, stealing bitcoins or stuff like that from the foreign agents. It's very hard to track them down, even when the host country, supposed host country, is helping out, trying to track them down. It's just a very slippery, slidey place to be on the internet, and track it down, whether it's for porno or for weapons technology, or penetration of our various computer networks and the such. It's hard doing.
Right. Well,
And
I mean,
the
we
one
have,
go back to
listen. I'm not a cybersecurity analyst or an expert,
yeah,
so I don't try to be. But like I said, I mean, I just find it ironic that the security agencies, and then we have President Trump who doesn't necessarily want to come out, and he's done stuff in the past where he's kind of, well, yeah, it could be, but it may not be. But it's like you're undermining the people. These are career employees, with years, and it's almost insulting. But maybe not. I don't know. Again, I'm not in that.
yeah.
I'm not in that state. But I just the whole cybersecurity is getting a little bit more complex, and host
Oh
nations,
yes, yeah.
and visiting nations and host nations or whatever you want to call it. Um,
Mhm.
it's just getting complex in the dynamic of everything.
And
Yeah, man.
keep in mind that these agencies like NSA and the FBI and the such, they're laboring under a huge bureaucracy that quite often have agendas of their own internal versus what is for the government. So this is why it can be hard for them to really get down and nail things or to counterattack. And that's why I advocate the letters of marque, because individuals out there that are good and bright computer people, they're not struggling under this bureaucracy that's trying to control what they do or limit what they do or put them off on something else for whatever reason. They're free to go out there and create, and they do. Some of the biggest computer crimes have been done by individuals, not by agencies or either Russian or American or anybody else.
Right, but when you say the letter of marque, you want these individuals to go out. But I mean, what's the difference of them probably operating on the FBI and CIA? I mean, just being under that guise. But you're saying that they should be on mercenary and kind of do it, and then they can keep whatever they keep. But the government taps these people, and now you kind of work for the government. You're not going to keep what you keep. The government might give you a piece, but the government's also going to take their share. So that letter of marque for you to go out and do it on your own and then keep whatever you the government is not going to accept that at all. They don't even want to accept people who they create their own wealth. Even though we're in a capitalistic society, you still have to pay the government something of the wealth that you've created, right? So, and under Biden it's going to be a lot, right? I think over $400,000 a year. You're going to pay a lot more, or a little bit more than the average bear, So, let's not take certain things out of context. Let's view it how it is, and perceive. That's what we're here to give our own opinion, our analysis, and see what happens, right?
Right. Now, it'll be a continual thorn in our side, in the West side, and will continue to grow. It's been growing like wildfire since back in the late 70s when the internet first came in, early 80s.
Right. Well, I think as long as you have time and evolution and progress, it's always going to be, because it's always going to be something or someone or a collective. And I think that's even more the case. Sometimes it's not even one person; it's a network of highly trained individuals. So it's going to always be complex as time goes on and progressions are made in advancement in technology. Because you're going to have people who are smart. You're going to have one person across the one side of the country or the world, linking up with someone in the Middle East, and linking up with someone in Africa and in Asia and Europe, and they're all going to come in as a collective, the network, and put their ideas together, and this is how the dark web gets initiated, and it's not even one person, and one person again will siphon it off, where they for others because they create networks, and I think it's more of that type of thing, of a collective effort, or a network effort, and people, instead of everyone for themselves, just we're all in it together, and we'll also get a piece and leverage that, So it is going to get complex, But that's 2020 was definitely a trying year, and it's definitely we'll see what happens.
About 2021.
Let's see what the fruits of our labors bring for 2021. New administration. Right. Again, president-elect and vice president-elect. A female vice president-elect. A lot of people said that was long overdue, and we'll see how this all comes around, how it plays into the economy and businesses, because businesses had a very trying year in the end of the first quarter, right? Because Martin started with March, so like the end of the first quarter until the fourth quarter. We're in the last quarter, trying to win the game, but the game has already been lost. So now we have to start to go. We have to look into the next matchup. So man. This EFR podcast 2020 wrap up review. it was a wrap, man. It was decent. We got to definitely. There's gonna be new stuff coming for the new year. To people who are listening, we're definitely gonna do more shows. 2020 brought in, a lot less shows that we did. We're definitely gonna make it up, and more interviews, man. We fell off this year in 2020 with the interviews, James.
Yeah, there's
You heard
going to
me?
be an awful lot to talk about. There's going to be,
Yeah,
there's going
I
to
said we
be,
fell off with the interviews. We fell off with the interviews. We've done less interviews this year. We definitely for 2021 have to bring in more people for interviews. And I know you said you have some couple people, don't you? That you for the interviews.
yeah, but I, I haven't got anything back on them. I
Got
don't
you,
know
got
why
you.
people are reluctant. Yeah, but we've
Because
got this.
they want they want moolah, man. They want moolah. You don't know that, man. They want the bread. You know what I mean? They want you to cut them the checks, bro. You know. But yeah, we'll definitely be doing more interviews. It'll be definitely better presence from us because 2020 was, again, the end of the first quarter was really horrible. The pandemic and it just kind of threw everything off. We didn't know how to really
Yeah,
cope with it. Like the last pandemic was 100 years ago, the Spanish flu or something like that. So, um,
1918.
we didn't, yeah, we didn't know how to cope. But we did all right. We knew that this, we've always kind of knew that this virtual podcasting was going to work. And now you see like every entity doing this like live. Zoom, the company Zoom excelled, during this period, and interactive conferencing and media FaceTiming and virtual timing is gotten inclusive airtime and profits, from different companies that are doing this. So, 2021, you guys will see much more stuff. I mean, James, man, it was a wrap, man. It's a wrap. End of year review. I think we covered everything. You have anything to say?
Can't think of anything. Just keep your fingers crossed for the best for the next year, and keep your head down and just keep going forward.
Yeah, that's good. I would say keep looking up and try to go forward. That's what I would say. But definitely keep going forward.
Yeah,
So and keep going. And
don't
that's a
lose
wrap,
heart.
man. Say it again.
Said don't lose heart.
Yeah, don't lose hope. Don't lose heart. And that's a wrap, man. We all have a voice and opinion. It's just how you use yours. James Lyman. I'm Sammy B. This is the EFR podcast. End of the year review 2020. It's a wrap. Later. Stay blessed. God bless.
Okay, see you next year.